What is up, everyone? Coming to you live from my parents' house. Sorry, not my parents' house, my brother's apartment. We got episode 21 of the Changavi Aftershow, and I know I've been away for a while. I know it's been kind of crazy the last few weeks in terms of consistency of uploads and all of that various stuff. So, listen, I promise you guys an explanation. What the fuck is going on? Why haven't you been uploading, bro? What is happening? So let's get right into it. What up, bro? What is going on? Okay, let me explain to you guys what's been happening. And promise, it's nothing bad, and it's nothing too bad, too scary, anything. So here's basically what happened. So, as you guys know, I have no driver's license. This is completely my bad, my fault. I have failed the test 4 times. If anybody has failed it more, I would love to know. I am an incredibly bad driver. So, at least according to the DMV, I personally don't think so, but the examiners seem to think so, and we can get into it with the driving anxiety. But that's in the past. Okay, we like to look forward. We like to envision the future. Okay, so anyway, because I don't drive and can't drive up to the city, as you guys know, I have a new job. So I can't drive up to the city every day because that's like 50 minutes from my house. So I was like, you know what? Let me cut my commute and just stay with my brother who lives right across the Caltrain station at along the way. So I was like, all right, let's do it. So I did that. I was staying with him for that weekend, and all of a sudden, his fiance caught COVID. And so, the end of that weekend, she catches COVID. I'm kind of stuck because my parents at that point were in Seattle. So, I didn't want to go back, especially. And so, they came back to the house. My parents went back to their house, and I didn't want to go back because I don't want to give them COVID. There, why would I do that, right? Go back with a potential positive test. I tested multiple times. I was negative. So my brother's fiance ended up recovering, got better, all that good stuff, and so we all tested negative. So I was thinking, okay, let me come home. And it turns out while in Seattle, my parents both got COVID. So they both had to deal with that. It was a couple days. And so basically, a few days and one weekend turned into 3 weeks of me staying at my brother's house. And so, as you can tell, living in a 700 square foot apartment with 3 people, there hasn't necessarily been the exact number of time maybe that I would have liked to have recorded a podcast. So that's probably why I've been pretty inconsistent. And quite frankly, there isn't too much TikTok material that I've been able to produce because a lot of my TikToks come from me either A, recording and having the space to be able to do that, and also B, what's it called? Like being it, like also like having podcasts and cutting clips and all that good stuff. So I haven't been able to do any of that because I've been caught in that because I've been caught in this weird situation. I've tried to make the most of it. I did the championship podcast from the conference room where multiple times the lights shut out. I'm trying something here with the audio today. Let's see if it works. I'm not totally confident 100%. So let's see how it all works out. But I am excited to be here. I'm excited to be back. I'm excited to be back recording because I have a lot to say. There's been some stuff that's happened over this last 3 week period that I think you guys are going to find interesting. So let's get right into it, right? Because summer started, I guess, kind of, maybe summer started, right? Like it's weird. And I like this is, of course, like this is the after show. This is going to be like episode 21, I guess, technically, of the after show, where I just basically go in and talk a bunch of shit about stuff that I have no right talking about, right? So let's get into it. But summer started, okay? But summer, and I propose this question to my listeners. Summer doesn't feel like summer anymore. It's not necessarily what it used to be. What summer used to be was like, oh my god, like school's out, we're gonna hang out with our friends all day and like loiter in the street and eat popsicles and watch fireworks, and that's the summer. But like that changed, and it kind of sucks. It sucks because everybody's like, no, like I gotta work now. It's like, oh dude, you want to hang out? No, bro, I gotta work. And I am victim of being that guy. I am that guy who's like, nah, bro, I gotta go to work. partially because I can't drive and I have no, like, I need to be able to commute. So I'm probably located in a different place than all my friends. But also, like, it's been busy. And so it's been tough to be able to coordinate times to hang out with people. And it's unfortunate because that's what summer used to be about, right? Summer used to be about the time where you would hang out with your friends and do all sorts of fun stuff. And, it would just be a vibe. And unfortunately, like, I feel like as you grow older, that vibe is taken away. There's no more of that, like, let's hang out, let's like do this, let's do that, let's have a great summer, because everybody during the summer is actually working. It's just like, oh, cool. It's just hotter. Like, that's the only visible difference that I have noticed in this summer of 2022 so far, is that, it's a little hotter. But I'm still working. I'm in a summer class at school, which, by the way, school is its own fucking separate bullshit thing that I don't want to get into right now, because I'm so over school. Actually, you know what? Fuck this. I'm gonna get into it. I fucking hate school. I really do. Okay, and I'm not going to apologize for me expressing the fact that I think right now where I'm at, I don't want to go to college. I don't want to go to college. I don't want to get a degree. I have zero motivation to do so, but yet everything in society says I have to, because it provides opportunities and all this bullshit. But here's the reality of the situation. I was I went to my orientation. This is one of the other things that I did during my 3-week on and off hiatus with you guys. I went to my college orientation, right? San Jose State. Yay, go Spartans. They gave me one fucking free t-shirt. Good for them. Listen, I have nothing against San Jose State, and I have nothing against people who want to go to San Jose State. I actually met a lot of people who, like, really, had experienced life and had gone through all sorts of things, and finally decided, like, yo, like, I want to give this a second shot and go to college and, finish my degree. And respect for them, because it takes effort and it takes accountability to be able to do that. And I have nothing against people that go to college. I just personally struggle with the concept of college. And I think everyone in my life doesn't, for some reason. And I do. And it's just something that I despise heavily, because I went anyway. So I went to San Jose State orientation, and they were going over all this stuff. I'm a communications major. Yay. One of the most quote unquote useless degrees according to everyone. So yeah, shout out to that. But anyway, I was at my communications orientation, and they were talking about all sorts of stuff. And they were like, oh, it's only like, all you got to do is finish 42 upper division units. And I was like, oh, that's hella doable, right? Like, I could get that done, like, maybe potentially graduate this year. But I look at the fucking roadmap that I have for the next 2 years, and it's filled with upper division general ed classes through SJSU. And not only just upper division general ed classes, okay? Also, fucking physical education classes, which, like, sure, okay, yes, PE is important and you should work out and you should exercise and be healthy. Why the fuck does this need to be a university requirement? Why? Please tell me why PE needs to be a university requirement. Not only that, they want me to retake a government class because I don't have a credit to do so. Okay, I probably know more about the government than most people. I do the research on my own. I do a podcast about the freaking current events of the world. It's so annoying, dude. Okay, so I have to do that. I have to do another upper division science class, which is gonna be ass. And then I have to do, like, a self and society class. So, like, there's a bunch of upper division GEs on top of the fact that I have to do my communication stuff. And they're like, oh, we recommend you get a minor. I'm like, bro, how are you supposed to do all this? Like, are you serious? And I did the calculations. So there's like 120 total credits, right? And I believe out of, or like, to get a communications major, it's like 130 total credits. And the total amount of credits that are actually used in the communications department, which is like where your major is 52. 52 out of like 125 to 130 credits. That's less than half. That is less than half. I'm sorry. If I'm paying $6,000 a year to go to college, I am not paying less. I am not paying for fucking less than half of my knowledge that comes from this college to be from, communications classes. Your major, right? According to colleges, your major is supposed to be your specialty. It's supposed to be the thing that you specialize in. All your credits go to that particular department. But according to San Jose State, I did the math, only 35% of my credits are actually to do with communications, which is my major. Please explain to me how this makes sense. General education, I'm sorry. Your general education should be the first 12 years of your fucking high school. Or not high school, but the first 12 years of your education that you're required to go to by the state of California or whatever state you're in. Okay, that should be your general education. No one needs another fucking writing workshop. Because kids, let me tell you something, colleges. This is what kids do in your GE classes. They cheat, they plagiarize, and they don't do the work. They don't care about learning. They don't really give a shit because they're only in those classes in order to, A, graduate, and B, get their fucking degree in a major that's completely irrelevant to probably that general ed class. I don't understand this. I don't understand. What is, like... Dude, I'm so over this. And I have to take fucking more classes this summer, and I I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted. Higher education has firmly exhausted me, partially because of the fact that I have zero motivation to do it. And also probably partially because I hate, I'm really not a fan of that school right now. Just in general, I'm not the biggest school fan. And people have come after me. Like, I post little of these clips on TikTok, and people are like, "You have zero value for your education. Like, go get your, head checked." All of these things. Like, listen, I understand where these people are coming from. They're educational traditionalists. I get it. It's an old school mentality to have. I don't hate on it. I don't disrespect that, because my parents, the fact that I'm in this country is probably because of education, and I'm crapping on it. And I understand, I have a very good perspective as to like what education can do for someone. But like, dude, I'm exhausted. I'm tired. I'm tired of this system. I don't like it in college. I'm really unmotivated to do school, but I have to because, there's society and other things riding on it. And if I, got my and I got my internship and I really, really like it, but you need a degree if you want to go full time in this industry. So what are you gonna do? Okay, let's talk something else because I'm done with this shit. Okay, college, God, summer. Ugh, like my whole life is just flying before me. I'm 21. I'm sitting in my brother's house. I can't drive. I'm absolutely. This is ridiculous. Okay, this is supposed to be fun. Baseball. So, for those of you that don't know, I recently started working in baseball with the San Francisco Giants. It's been an incredible opportunity so far. I've been blessed to be in the situation that I'm in, and I can't complain like at all. Like, I love it, and every moment of it has been just fun on top of more fun on top of more fun. So I can't complain. And also, I'm genuinely scared that people from the Giants are actually watching this, so I can't, just be unfiltered. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I actually really do love I really do love this internship so far, and it's been a lot of fun. But I realized some things about baseball. And for those of you that don't know, baseball wasn't necessarily like my number one sport in terms of being a fan. It was always like a clear secondary sport. I love football, love basketball. Those were my two sports growing up. Always watched them, played pickup. That was the thing. Always watched a lot of football as well. But baseball was never something that like really was encouraged, I guess. I'm not gonna say it wasn't encouraged because it more so was just me not being exposed to baseball growing up. And I have to say, like, being an intern within this organization, like, and watching a lot of baseball, like, it's a lot of fun. Like, this sport is a lot of fun. Like, I watched baseball, like, I knew kind of the vibe, and I like know the players and all that on the Giants, but like, I wasn't necessarily like super like, I wasn't a super fan of the Giants, right? Like, I was like a cat. Like, I was in admittedly a casual San Francisco Giants fan. But the more I watch baseball and the more I sit there and watch more games and start to learn more about the team and the players and the identities of all of these different things related to the sport, like the more I really am starting to enjoy uh, baseball as itself. And I think there's a lot of unique elements to the game of baseball that people don't realize, which I think is really cool. I think one of the things that I really like about baseball is that it feels like a more interactive fan experience than a lot of other sports. I feel like when you're going to a baseball game, you're actually going to like an experience versus like when you're going to an NFL game, like you're going to get a little tipsy or drunk or just go cheer on your team. But there's no like real level of engagement rather than just yelling and screaming the entire game. With basketball, it's a similar vibe, right? You're going to have a couple drinks and watch the game and yell for the most part and be in like an environment with a lot of loud fans. And I feel like baseball is this weird anomaly because there's so many games. So there's 162 games. So you don't necessarily need to bring that energy and that vibe every single game. But also there's this like experience to baseball, which I didn't realize because I hadn't been to very many baseball games live, at least until this year. So until I really started regularly attending them, and they're a lot of fun. I had so much fun watching baseball. Um, like it's the fact that they like sing, like all the fans like know the lyrics to Take Me Out to the Ball Game and they're just like all singing in unison was just like so shocking to me. That was like one of the first experiences I really had with baseball, and I was shocked. I was like, whoa, like all these people know the song, like they sing it and they like belt it out and it's this whole unison. I was like, wow, this is really cool. Like what would like basketball, you can never sing a song in the middle of like at halftime. Like that just doesn't work. It's just not the way the sport works. And that's fine. It's a different landscape, it's a different vibe. And so Take Me Out to the Ball Game is just like that's a unique tradition. I think another really like I've talked about this. I think another really funny thing about baseball is the coaches wear uniforms. I love that. I love how like when I get to see Gabe Kapler like fully in uniform, looking like he can probably go out there and just hit a couple homers, right? Like I love that. That's so cool to me that like the coaches are like in full uniform and they look like they're ready to go. That's again like another super like little element, but like obviously I think it just adds to to the overall experience and the overall aesthetic. And walk up songs are another thing. Fans recognizing their favorite songs that their players walk up to, and it's just I think baseball as itself is just such an overall vibe, and I think baseball could become really trendy again if that makes sense. I know baseball has taken a lot of flack in the past for being a sport that's old school and old timey and takes too long and is boring, but like as someone like who used to think in that manner that baseball is definitely more boring, it's a slower sport. And don't get me wrong, like baseball is a slower sport in comparison to sports like basketball, in comparison to sports like football that tend to move a little quicker. Like baseball's like definitely a lot slower, but I feel like baseball is one of those things that like it's definitely an acquired taste, but if you really like take the time to watch the game and like really try to understand it, like I think you're going to enjoy it. And I haven't thoroughly enjoyed watching baseball recently. And just a few observations that I've had. I think baseball, and I think this is a very fair take. And I think baseball is one of the more unique sports in America. And I think partially because it's so old, partially because it's probably the oldest quote unquote like true American sport. It's older than football, I believe, and older than basketball. If I'm not mistaken, yeah, I think it's older than both of those two. And I know like there's obviously like the clear reports that MLB's ratings have dipped over the last 10 years and they're struggling to attract young fans, and that's 100% uh valid criticism. And obviously like the stuff with the lockout like didn't make things easier for them at all. But I really do think it's a cool sport, and I think people ought to give baseball a chance because it's definitely one of the more underrated sports out there. And I would love it if people watched it because it's fun. And yeah, and I've been very impressed so far, I guess, by the sport. Yeah, thus far. So far, so good with baseball. I love it. But let's get into this, right? And sorry about the delay. I just had to refresh the computer and all that, so make sure it was working. Um, am I selling out? I've come on this show so many a times and said that I firmly believe that I am going to be a creative career and be self-employed and I am going to be what I'm going to be and all of these things. And I still firmly believe all of that. I hope that at some point in my life that this podcast can sustain my overall being. And I do hope that at some point this podcast is going to be something somewhat of a success. I wouldn't clarify this podcast as a success now. I mean, yes, did it partially help me get a job? Yeah, but like I still want this to be the full time thing. Like, don't get me wrong. As much as I love the job and what I'm doing right now, I would love this to be a full time thing. But am I selling out? I mean, I think the answer is no. If you want to think the answer is yes, then absolutely go for it. But I don't, I think there's a fine line between having to sell out of something and having to um, do something just for the paycheck. And I came to this realization that like, listen, as much as I love this podcast and I love all of y'all and I love the fact that I'm gaining TikTok followers, you need to put bills on the table at some point. You need to find a way to make money because I can't live in my parents' house forever. It's the reality of the situation. I'm not saying that I would be, yes, would I like would I would I love to live in my parents' house forever? Probably not, because I feel like we'd eat each other's heads alive, and I think both of them would say the same thing. And I think they want me out of the house, and I definitely need to be out of the house for sure. And I think you need to be your own self-sustaining adult. And I'm grateful for the fact that they've given me the opportunity to live on my or like given not I'm grateful for the fact that they have given me the opportunity to stay in their house probably longer than they expected, and I appreciate that. But I need to leave at some point, and so how do I do that if I don't have the resources and the capital to do so? And I think like it's important to think about a backup plan, but this isn't like I hate the word backup plan because that means you're giving up. I This isn't a backup plan, but this is more so like a career which can really help me take this thing to the next level, because already the things I've learned through Photoshop and through like organizing your desktop and like figuring out the way like a big organization runs their social media team is integral in like helping me sort of apply those same principles to what I do. And I think one of the main things I've already learned from the jump, like it's been a month, like since I started this internship, is organization. I think organization is key. I am not organized in terms of my digital files and in terms of the way that I tend to organize specific things in regards to the podcast. And I feel like if you want to be successful, and want to build a social media brand, you definitely do have to have organization. And I've learned that graphic design is single-handedly one of the most important skills that you can have in today's economy. And I don't think that's a hot take. I think graphic design is so heavily important. And it's like I said, it's one of the main things I learned. Why do I think graphic design is important? Because I think everyone is going to everyone wants to look good, right? Everybody wants to make sure that their work or that whatever it is that they're doing looks good. It's aesthetically pleasing. And for something to look aesthetically pleasing, you have to put in the work to make it look aesthetically pleasing. And that's why I believe like Photoshop and Illustrator and all of these skills are so incredibly important in one's, what's it called? In what like in developing one's personal brand. Yes, you may not be in a creative career 100%, right? Like, but you want to stand out, right? You When you go apply for a job, even if you're like a product manager, which there's 300,000 of, right, in today's society, always, going for the same position. If you're applying for a product manager position at Microsoft, they get 700 applicants. what's going to be the one thing that makes you stand out? If you have a really nice aesthetic resume that you hand designed on Illustrator or that you graphically designed on Photoshop, people are going to be like, ooh, I'm going to look at that. I'm going to take a look. Oh, if you have stuff that fits together, if you have a good aesthetic digitally, it really helps your cause. And you can also, like, I learned that with this show. Like, if I want to like make this thing go somewhere, like as much as I'm not a fan of like, putting together the best camera equipment and like doing this and doing that and like operating in a certain manner. Like I realize that you have to almost do so. You have to have some level of quality for people to respect you, and for people to look at you like you're something. And I think that's where I think graphic design comes in terms of aesthetic. Like if you have good graphic skills and you can build good graphics and good templates and put out a good quality product, like yeah, people are going to take you more seriously, 100%. And yeah, and I think that's one of the things I've realized so far, organization and graphic design, two things that like, yes, like they occur in every company and you just don't think twice about it. But like when it comes to your own individual self, you're like, ooh, I'm not an organized person and ooh, I fucking suck at Photoshop. So maybe I need to be better at both those things. That's why you work in other places to learn those things, I guess. But I don't know where I was going with that. Point is, I don't think I'm selling out. I just think I'm learning new stuff. And hopefully you guys get to see what I'm learning and I'm applying it to the show. I would love that. That's the ideal goal, but you know how life is. It'll fucking kick you in the ass and shit'll just go all over the place. But we'll see. We'll see. I don't think I'm selling out. If you do, good on you. But listen, I posted a TikTok a couple days ago. Not even. It's like it's been a week. I actually posted this TikTok like a week ago when I recorded the Warriors championship press conference episode. I posted this whole TikTok about how the Golden State Warriors, blah blah blah, like just flexing as a fan, telling everybody to fuck off. But there was this one segment of it where I basically talked about the city of San Francisco and how I don't believe that the city of San Francisco is declining. And people, I mean, first of all, people ate it up. Like they loved it. They were like, okay, like, yes, San Francisco is declining, you piece of shit. And yes, like most of the comments in there are really unproductive and make fun of me, but whatever. I don't care. I don't fucking care. You know why? Because those are the same people that like comment that shit, but like are going to move to San Francisco in 2 years, unfortunately, right? Because they're gonna be like, oh my God, like I don't want to move to San Francisco, but I like have to. And and they're gonna move to San Francisco. They're gonna buy my freaking apartment, or they're gonna rent freaking apartments and drive the rent price up. So locals like me have to move to fucking Scottsdale, Arizona, or wherever the hell else. Hey, Scottsdale isn't a bad place. Okay, like I got nothing against Scottsdale, but anyway, I still stand by the fact that I believe that San Francisco is not a declining city. I truly believe that it is. There are elements of it that are thriving, and I think that there are definitely elements of it that are struggling. And I think it's okay to admit both of those things. I think the fact that, but I think people take it too far when they say like, "Oh, it's a fecal matter city," and no one would give a shit if San Francisco sank into the ground. Like the fact is, San Francisco is still one of the most financially lucrative cities in America, and there's no not disputing that fact. I understand that the homelessness is higher. I understand that yes, has there been fecal matter in the streets? Yes, but have those statistics been excessively going down? Absolutely. It's a start. Listen, San Francisco has problems. I'm not saying San Francisco is perfect by any means. Market Street, when I was a kid, was a hell of a lot nicer than what it is now. And I'm 21, and Market Street's got its issues now. There are parts of San Francisco that definitely have their issues. I'm not saying that it's a completely free city, and gentrification obviously a big problem. And I think one of my favorite TikTok comments was the guy who was like, "You are the reason for gentrification." And I'm like, dude, I don't even live in the city and I make $18 an hour. I Caltrain to different spots because I can't even fucking drive. But yeah, I'm the reason for gentrification, right? But I mean, look, listen, Is San Francisco like San Francisco is not a declining city? And I think most people that think it is a declining city are the ones who don't live there, are the ones who aren't from the Bay, who haven't visited all that often, and the ones that claim to have visited are like, oh my god, I visited San Francisco, and like as someone who's supposed to like it, I hated it, and I'm like, all right, dude, like maybe next time, like don't come back, and like I mean, I don't know, like it's cool, like if it's not for you, it's not for you. Like I have no issue with that. I just find it really funny that like people like took out their anger on me, like, oh, you live in the Millennium Tower and you're just talking from your 17th floor penthouse. Like you're talking to the wrong kid, boss. Like people are like, oh, you just got a tech internship and you're making, $150,000 a year at some company. I'm like, as much as I would love that lump sum of money, I am not doing any of that, but thank you. Um, so I love the fact that they just believe that that I'm something I'm not. Assumptions are funny on the internet. But honestly though, like people should think that way. Like that, I've come to this realization. People should think that San Francisco is a declining city because they need to get the fuck out of here. I hope people continue to leave. You know why? Because the rent prices right now are hella high. And so locals like myself and other people that live in this area that are going to graduate school soon, that are going to have full-time jobs in the city, aren't going to be able to afford apartments without four roommates. And so it would be nice if people listened to this, if people said San Francisco was a declining city, and like the people in my TikTok comments, if they leave this city, please leave. You're welcome to leave at any time so that I can afford rent in 4 years and live in my non-declining city. So you can go back to, whatever state you're from, whatever city you think is better, because that's for sure. I mean, you could have whatever opinion you want. I will have my opinion. I just need my affordable apartment, please. But anyway, I mean, like, look, I I actually think what's funny is that I grew up nearer to San Jose my entire life, and San Jose is San Jose is its own like wavelength of a city. I think there are very good parts of San Jose, West Side San Jose, all of that. But I think there are really not so great parts of San Jose. And I think downtown, East Side, parts of East Side aren't the best. And I'm gonna come on here and say something. I'm curious to see what you guys have to say. I think downtown San Jose is much, much more declining and unsafe than any area, than like 95% of areas in San Francisco. And I know San Francisco gets the bad rap because it's the bigger city, it's the more relevant one, it's the one that gets picked on. But I think those issues that people have with San Francisco are projections of issues that they really should be having about San Jose. I think San Jose is, I mean, I have my thoughts on San Jose. I think it's a nice place again, like in some areas, but there are a lot of areas of San Jose where like I get freaked out. Like downtown's a little scary in places. You go down one wrong street in downtown. Yeah, it's you walk a little faster. You have a little pep in your step. And I can say that because I go to San Jose State now, and where San Jose State isn't the best area of downtown. I've had many friends who are like, yeah, I see prostitutes in the corner. Like that's just a normal thing on a college campus at before an 8 a.m. class. Um, homeless people. Yes, are they all over San Francisco? Yeah, but I mean, I feel like they're way more prevalent in San Jose. Maybe I haven't been exposed to San Francisco as much, but I personally do believe that San Jose is a lot worse than San Francisco, particularly downtown. And I don't think you would know that if you lived here. If you haven't lived here, because San Jose tends to get the better rep for some reason, because it does have because San Jose is such a sprawling city, that there are such nice neighborhoods, and San Jose's kind of crime record, I guess, goes up. But downtown San Jose is like, I've known people who've gotten mugged. I've known people that have, gotten robbed, beat up, like homeless people, like getting in your face. Like it's not the best place right now. I actually think that it is significantly worse than San Francisco. And so a lot of the people that have issues with San Francisco probably have issues with San Jose, but they don't know. And so they take it out on San Francisco. That's my theory about this whole situation and this whole conversation that I brought to TikTok. But thank you for watching. It gained me like 25 followers, which I was shocked about. Like it was just some random piece I put out, like, oh, don't disrespect SF, like all this stuff. I'm glad people found it controversial and really started, butting heads over it, because I thought it was really funny. People in the comment section were like going at each other while I was just like an observer. So I'm going to use this segment and respond to everyone because I think that's necessary. So please leave San Francisco. Like honestly, I would love it if people left. Please leave, because I want to pay my rent. I want to be able to afford to live there. So you can feel free to get the fuck out if you would like. Go to whatever city you think is not declining. Because I saw someone in the comments being like, "Look at Austin, it's so much better." Austin, Texas has nothing on San Francisco, California. But okay, you think what you want to think, bro. Austin's just newer, so people, let it have its time. Austin in 30 years is going to be 50 times worse than San Francisco. I'll count on it. But anyway, I'm not going to get into that. That's a whole separate conversation for another day. Do you love your job? Do you love your job? This is genuinely a question like I really want to ask people. I don't necessarily have a lot of friends that are like really fully into their careers yet. I know people that are like, starting to get into their fourth, fifth years of experience, like in terms of working. And I know a lot of people that have just gotten their first job and, are starting to feel that out. And I know people like me who are like just got their first internship and like are getting a taste of like what is working. Like of course I've worked, but like not like, you know what I mean, like in terms of like a real like an office job, like what is working. And I think like this was a question that I guess it just came about because I have found that a lot of people I talk to are so like not enthusiastic about their careers. They're very like, "Oh yeah, I do that. Oh yeah, like, I work in finance. I work in tech." I'm like, "Oh, what do you do?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, I just do like software engineering." What is that? "Oh, it's like it's kind of like coding." "Yeah, where do you work?" "Meta." Like, do you actually like it? Do most people like their jobs? Do most people working in tech actually like their jobs? I've asked my dad this multiple times. I'm like, "Dad, you have worked in tech for 25, whatever it is, crazy amount of years, and you have been relatively successful in that field. Do you actually enjoy what you do?" And his answer to me, I mean, his answer to me was like, kind of, kind of. When my dad said kind of, I was like, not, no disrespect towards him. Like he can have whatever answer he wants, and I'm sure he's got his own perspective on the thing, and I don't want to speak for him. But when my dad said kind of, it like really brought like just kind of turned a light on in my head. I was like, I never want to respond with kind of. I want to respond with fuck yeah. I love what I do. I love my job. I love what I'm doing. I love what I'm going towards. Like that is that is like what I want to respond. Like I don't want to be the kid that's like at 20 whatever, that's 7 years down the road in a career that's depressing, in a field that I don't like, doing stuff that I hate. That would be my worst nightmare. And listen, I'm a career oriented person. I've known this from a long time. I'm not successful with personal relationships. Just ask the people that I've been friends with. It's not easy. I'm kidding, but career has always been like my number one goal. And I think like my main goal with my career has always been like go after opportunities and also do things that I like and I love. because otherwise, like, I'm going to just be unfulfilled. And I I can firmly say that, like, everything I do, like, in terms of like a career perspective, like, for the most part, I love. I really do enjoy it. And I can say that there are a lot of people out there that I know. I'm not going to name names, of course, because that would be rude. That would be very, very rude. But there are a lot of people out there that really don't like their jobs. There are a lot of people out there that think that working is bullshit and that all they want to do is go retire on a beach in Florida. And I have no issue with any of that. But I could never imagine myself in an unfulfilled position in my career. And like if I ever was, like I'd like to think like I would get the fuck out. I understand that there's a varying, amount of situations and life circumstances and all of that, but do people really love their job? Like can I sit down with 100 average Americans and be like, yo, so and so, do you love your job? And how many of them would look me in the eye and say, yeah, I really like my job? Maybe 5, 10 Americans would say that. Maybe. I think it'd be a counting number, to be honest. I don't think there's a lot of people out there that love what they do with their full heart. And that's sad because I think the best work comes from when you love what you do. Because otherwise, like, who cares? Like, you're just putting in half-ass work and you don't like what you do and you just go home and you feel like shit. I mean, unless like I don't know, like you're working on it on the side and you feel like you're close. I don't know what it is. Um, but I would like to think that everything I do is towards going after a career and going after a job that I really like. And not even a job, just like going after like stuff that I want to do. I think that's just the most important thing. And I think there's the old school mentality of like, no, like money and, like, of course, life priorities are important too. Like, I'm not saying that like your job is everything, but like, I think your job is a huge part of who you are. I think what you do is a big part of who you are. And I think it's genuinely integral for you to be able to enjoy what you do. It shouldn't be a job. It should be fun, right? You should be walking in to work or doing whatever it is you do for money. Like, you should be happy. You should be like, oh yeah, like I get to do that today. Like I want to smile on Mondays. That's my goal. That's my fucking goal, I guess, in life, is that when it hits Monday morning and it's like 6 a.m., whatever it is, when the rest of the world is like, ugh, long weekend's over, I'm hungover, or like, oh, I hate my career, I hate my life. Like, I want to be the guy who's like, no, like, I love this. Like, let's go, And obviously, it's not going to happen every Monday. There's going to be day, like, you know how it is. Life is what it is. But I want it to be like, let's go. Like, another Monday. Like, let's get to it. You know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe I'm just speaking ill. I have no idea. Listen, I got a couple more topics and we'll call it, because this is getting out of hand. Dave Portnoy. Dave Portnoy is what the fuck? I hate Dave Portnoy. I don't say I hate a lot of people. I don't say I despise a lot of people. I don't say anything of that nature, to be honest, because I truly don't not like a lot of people. Like, I really do like most people. But Dave Portnoy is not one of those people that I do enjoy. Let me say that. I think Dave Portnoy is a little piece of shit. And I think there's a lot of stuff that happened with Dave Portnoy that just gets shoved under the rug. Things like him being, outwardly racist towards Colin Kaepernick, calling him a member of ISIS and Arab and all of these things. Things like, him just being pretty misogynistic in terms of some of the comments that he's made about women, all of these things. Just his general demeanor is just not great. And I still don't understand why people worship him. I don't understand why people like Barstool. Barstool is just like, it just feels very, I don't know. There's something like, listen, I have no problem with like white frat guys. Like, cool, do your thing. Like, if that's what you're into, like, absolutely, like, do your humor. Like, it's funny at times, but you can't have that constant dose of that humor. Like, in my opinion. But that's a separate discussion, right? Like, that's debating sense of humor. This is about Dave Portnoy. Dave Portnoy, like, of course, like the whole thing got brought up in my head again with the Warriors and the way that he said like Draymond is, bitch and all that stuff. Like, okay, cool. But like that's that's besides the point. But like Dave Portnoy, just in general, he's like one of those dudes that's like he's a Joe Rogan, but he's trying to be an asshole, and he is an ass. And I don't know what the appeal is with him. I don't know why like people think he's funny, because he's really not. He just does pizza reviews, and he's for like if frankly like I'm just not a fan. I'm not a fan of Dave Portnoy. I don't know why he's social media famous. I don't know why he has the following that he does. And I said hate earlier. Like, yes, like I really don't like Dave Portnoy. From what I've seen in his public persona and just his actions, they're just not okay in my opinion. Like that, like as someone who creates content for the internet, I may not have the following of Dave Portnoy. He could come on here and be like, "Oh, Anuj is a pussy. Like he only has 100 followers on the internet, and I have 3.5 million. Look, Draymond sucks. I'm from Boston, bro. Like, okay, dude. Like, I don't give a fuck. At least I'm like a decent human being. Like, genuinely, like I like question the guy. And I question a lot of people that follow him. I think I follow Barstool Sports. I didn't even fucking unfollow them. I don't know why I still follow them. But I'm not the biggest fan of Barstool. I'm not the biggest fan of Dave Portnoy. I'm glad Alex Cooper left Barstool. She was the one thing I liked about them. And yeah, that's all I'm going to say. I just think Barstool and Dave Portnoy are really bad, have been pretty bad people, and they just get away with it for God knows what reason. I would be interested to hear like what your guys' perspective was. Like, do you think that Barstool gets away with a lot? Like, why does Barstool get away with a lot? Why is Dave Portnoy viewed as this like celebrity? It's interesting. It really is. Anyway, I got one more topic. We're going to wrap this up. Third world countries. So I was told by someone that saying third world country is the equivalent of saying the N word. I was literally told this. I said third world in like a sentence, um, in some question, and like multiple people swiped up and were like, "Yo, you can't be saying that." And I was like, "Okay, like why?" And a couple people were really nice, and they kind of sent me some stuff, and they were like, "Look into this. Like, I'm interested to see what you think." And I was like, "Okay, for sure." Did the reading. There are other people that were like, "You are saying the equivalent of the N word when you say third world country," and I'm like, "Okay, hold on, what?" Like, I'm not systemically bringing down people for saying a third world country. I told my parents that, and my dad was like, "What did they say?" He was like, "Hell no. Hell no. Like, what? It is a third world country." And this is the man who immigrated from India himself 30 years ago. He was like, "Yes, say third world. It is a freaking third world country." Right? Both my parents agreed. And I saw their side. I saw these other people's side. And I was like, where do I stand on this issue of saying third world? Because apparently it's offensive. So I wanted to bring this question to the people. Is saying a third world country offensive? Because according to NPR and KQED, there is arguments to the fact that it's offensive and we should use the word developing country instead. And then there are people who are like, why? What, it is a third world country. Like, yeah, like, yes, like it's there's no other like it is there's no other way to describe it. It's a third world country. Like, why saying third world offensive? Like, yes, we all live on the same world, but like they are just significantly less advanced. So I don't know where I stand with it. I did the reading, and I appreciated what NPR had to say, but quite frankly, I disagree. I don't think saying the word third world is offending anyone. I really don't believe so, because I have talked to people from these quote unquote third world countries, and they believe that it's fine. It's okay to say that. And like, I don't like with the person who told me it's like like saying third world is the equivalent of saying the N word. I was like, all right, dude. Oh my god. Like, no, honey, no, it's not. But that's the society we live in. I'm curious. I'm curious to hear your perspective. Is saying third world, like third world countries, offensive? Should we change that terminology, and why? Because I feel like third world isn't bringing those people down in any way. It's just describing what the environment of the third world, and they're like, oh, like the argument that was presented was like it's rooted in colonialism and all of these things, and I'm like, okay, with all due respect, yes, like it is rooted in colonialism, and colonialism like fucked up a lot of shit, but it's not a racist term. Like, you can't say that. I don't know. I go back and forth on it. It's interesting. I tend to disagree with the fact that it's offensive, but it's definitely a conversation to be had because there is a valid point on both sides, and I think it's a worthwhile conversation that I wanted to have with you guys. But anyway, that's all I got. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. This was my first after show in about 2-3 weeks, something like that. Um, if you guys liked it, feel free to hit the like button, subscribe if you're on YouTube, if you're on Spotify, feel free to hit the follow button. You can also go through and watch all my past episodes. Don't know how relevant they are now, but damn, they're still pretty damn good. I was going back through some of them. I was like, all right, not bad, Changavi. So go through, and then you can also follow me on social media. That's going to be linked down below. Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, you is YouTube count? I don't know. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, all at the Changavi Show on all of those platforms. You can go check it out. The link is going to be down below of this podcast. I appreciate every single one of you. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I know it's been a while. More content on the way. I got another one I'm going to record tomorrow. We got more coming right up. Get excited. This is going to be hella fun. I got some good episodes coming up, so stay tuned. This is going to be a wild ride. All right. Appreciate all of you. Thank you guys so much for sticking with me, and I'll catch y'all later. All right. Peace.